Hello everyone, I'm Coretta Wilson and welcome once again to Insight with Superintendent Heath Morrison. This is a program that keeps you up to date on the issues and the initiatives in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. This is a time for planning in our school district, planning for a budget to educate more than 143,000 students and planning for building to provide facilities for those students. So to help us sort this out, we are talking to our superintendent, Dr. Heath Morrison. This is a lot to wrap our heads around. We understand that you're asking for $34 million more this year than what was asked for last year. That comes as no surprise. If you were asking for less, we'd wonder what you're thinking about. But as we talk about the budget, it is a lot to think about, for parents to think about and to try to understand. So what I would like to do is really break this down so that parents, teachers, and students know exactly what it is you're trying to do for them. What is this budget all about, and how is it going to help the students who are sitting in classrooms today?
So, what I always say about the creation of our budget as a school district is not unlike what a household does. You sit down at the kitchen table, you take out a sheet of paper, you think of all the sources of income that's coming in. Then you think about the expenses you have to take care of, the rent, the mortgage, the car note, the bills, and then hopefully you have more money in the surplus than in deficit. Now, the last several years in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, that hasn't been the case, and so we've had to make very painful cuts. Over $225 million over the last several years of cuts and redirections.
Are we doing better now?
I don't know, and here's the challenge. So as you're sitting down, it starts off with knowing the income. Right now, when we look at our major revenue sources, federal, state, and local, at the federal level, we know that we're going to get cut. We just don't know how much. The sequestration that happened in March, we know that there's going to be a cut, but again, we need to hear clearly how much that's going to be and where. At the state level, we're always waiting because the state actually sets its budget long after we have to create a proposed budget. And then at the local level, the challenge this year is, although we don't know how much funding we'll ultimately get from our local funders, what we usually know is how much revenue the county has for all of its essential services. But because of the property revaluation this year, even that is somewhat a mystery. So trying to create our budget, again, very much like a household, but right now we're trying to think about what that income is, but what we know is there are expenses we have to do to have the kind of outcomes we want for our students.
So we're looking at an increase. Why the increase? What's that going to help, or who's that going to benefit?
Yeah, so the increase, just to be clear, is a little over 2% higher this year than last year's operating budget. That's still, on a per pupil basis, below what it was back in 2009.
More students?
We have more students. We had more students this past year. We have an increase of almost 3,000 additional students coming in for next year. So we continue to be a growing school district. That's a good thing, but going back to the household analogy, if you continue to add children, that's going to come with more expenses. And so with increased costs, fuel, healthcare, benefits, things that we need to do to take care of our valued employees, as well as those additional students, 17.5 million of the 34 million of increase that we're asking for is simply for growth and sustaining our operations, not doing anything new, not changing anything, just to welcome our students back in August of next year. 17.5 million of the 28.5 million that we're asking for additional is for growth and sustaining.
So that's just to maintain the household, it sounds like.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now you got a lot of employees, thousands of employees.
We're one of the largest employers in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg region, and so we think we are a boon for the economy. We also think that we are a good thing for economic development. But yeah, we have over 9,000 teachers, an additional close to 9,000 other support staff, and so we are one of the largest employees in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg region.
What's the budget doing for them? Just sustaining their costs, salaries, health care, or what?
Yeah, so obviously we're addressing increased health care benefits, so that's important. Also, the governor in his proposed budget put a 1% increase of wages for all state workers, and many of our employees are paid through the state, but we have many employees in CMS paid locally. So we want to extend that 1% for all of our valued employees in CMS. That's about 2.5 million of that 17.5 million. Now, we are certainly advocating at the state level for more than a 1% increase. If that happens, and we're going to advocate for that, we're still going to have to account for another 2.5 million to make all of our employees, our local employees, whole. But we would welcome that challenge.
So that would be icing on the cake for the employees, indeed. Okay, so we cover the growth, we sustain, but you have a lot of new things that you think are necessary to make CMS continue to help it grow and be one of the best school districts.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about some of those. One of them, of course, technology.
Yeah. So first of all, I think certainly what I love is the fact that as we have really outreach to our community, we've done town hall meetings, community meetings, coffees with the superintendent. We did a survey, over 11,000 of our community members and employees weighed in on that survey, and these themes that we've lifted up in our budget, it's my recommended budget, but I think it shows how intently we're listening to our community. And one of the most important priorities they put out there was technology. Technology is changing everything about our lives. It's going to change. It is changing education. So the textbook is going away. Right. We're going to have all curriculum done electronically. We know that we're going to have to start doing testing through the Common Core online. And so what we want to do is to do this right. And so we have to have the technology infrastructure in every school so we can have anywhere, anytime learning for our students.
What's that going to look like?
Well, it's going to look like, first of all, making sure that once we have the ability to have the technology in our schools, that we give it to our teachers first. I can't emphasize how important that is. Many school districts have bypassed the teachers, gone directly to the students, and then wonder why teaching and learning doesn't look any different. We want to respect our teachers, first of all, by giving them the technology first, and then the professional development so that they can change their pedagogy and really start creating 21st century classrooms. And then obviously more technology for our students so that we can really personalize the learning environment and help our teachers as technology is a teaching tool.
Before I move on to the next one, I got to say this because I know we'll have parents and students say, I heard Dr. Morrison say that we're all getting iPads and we're all getting laptops. All the teachers and all the students will be outfitted. Truth or myth to that?
Well, again, it's a proposed budget, and so that depends on the amount of funding we ultimately end up with. But if we get the majority of our budget funded, then certainly what we have the ability to do is to have every school with wireless access, so every student can bring their device to school. Every teacher will be outfitted with some sort of technology device, and that we start the integration of adding technology to our students as well.
So if a student does not have an iPad from home to bring, they'll be able to use one at school?
Yeah, we're going to have to work on that. You know, certainly as we want to increase technology, we don't want to have happen what's happened in many school districts, and that is to have a technology divide. In our Project Lift Zone, we've been able to find a way to have every student have a device, but also to have that interconnectivity at the home site as well. And so that's important to make sure all of our students are getting the same equal opportunity.
Keeping that equality.
Absolutely.
Two other things, professional learning and Common Core. You mentioned bringing in all of the technology, and that's wonderful, but teachers, educators need to know how to use it, how to plan with it, and you can't just walk in with an iPad, say use it, put it on a smart board or connect it somewhere and just go for it.
You know, every time I was doing a community event or a town hall, and it was especially one focused with our employees, and I'd have so many teachers and support staff say, you know, we want quality professional development. We want to increase our capacity. We want to continue to get better. But you know, we don't necessarily like the way it's been done. So really rethinking how we provide professional development, respecting our teachers and our support staff and our administrators by giving them job embedded ongoing professional development coaches to help increase capacity through technology as we're doing new evaluation systems, building support. It is so critical. You know, businesses get that, other industries get it. We just have to do professional development better in education.
And we know that from theory to practice, there's usually some type of gap. It's a great idea, but then trying to make it work in the classroom every day with 35, 40 students can be complex.
Absolutely. You know, I've always said the interesting thing about professional development is it's easy to measure it in some ways, but hard as well. So you bring in a training, and somebody comes in, they do a training, all the teachers do a survey monkey, and people like it. Okay, well that's great, but then is it being used in class? So then you have administrators say, how often was the professional development technique observed in class? So that's easy to measure. What's really hard to measure is this training that people seem to like, that they're using in class, actually change positive student results. And that's the most important part. So that's what we want to do, and we want to listen to our employees. I can't emphasize that enough.
Okay, all right. The next one, choice options and innovative programs. Okay, what kind of choices are we talking about? Some magnet programs, some K through 12. What are we talking about for new options for parents and students?
Well, so it starts off with making sure that every one of our local neighborhood schools is a school of excellence. That really is the thrust of what we've got in our new revised strategic plan. That is really what we're focused on, is getting every neighborhood school to be the school of choice. But we have over 143,000 students, as you've alluded to already. And so we want to have options for students, and maybe that's more STEM or STEAM activities, where science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. that might be more performing arts. Additional Montessori opportunities. They're so welcome and popular. Dual language programs. But then also what we're looking at is helping our local neighborhood schools. So for example, 2 schools, Raymer Road with the Discovery Ed partnership that's going to be really fantastic. And then also McClintock or McClintock, take your pick. It's pronounced both ways, and I want to respect both ways it's pronounced. But at the middle school, we're going to have a new program called Teach to One, which is going to be a personalized, online, technology-based, personalized math program that the school community is really excited about. So lots of different opportunities, lots of different ways to explore teaching and learning, and making every school a school of choice.
Okay, so you can choose one of the other schools, one of the STEMs or such, or you could choose your home school, so to speak, and still receive a fantastic education.
Yeah, and I can't emphasize this more. We really want every family that moves into our Charlotte-Mecklenburg school family to feel great about their local school. That's the school they want to go to. However, if there is an option that just is a better fit, then we want to have lots of different opportunities, and not only magnet programs, but for example, alternative programs, and alternative programs in terms of time. So maybe at some of our high school sites, students don't want to be there in the morning, but would welcome being in there later in the afternoon and the evening. Some that are mostly based around technology and blended learning opportunities. So we've got the ability to have a lot of different options because we got a lot of different students, and so meeting that unique learning strategy and structure to the unique needs of the students is what we're going to challenge ourselves to try to do a better job of.
We got to talk a lot more about that because that makes for a great show and great conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, when we come back, if you build it, they will come. But first, you need a plan on what to build. School construction is the topic, and CMS has a plan for facilities coming to a neighborhood near you. The CMS Board of Education recently approved a capital improvement plan with the goal of providing relief for overcrowded schools and creating educational opportunities across the county. To provide us with some insight on the plan and what it means for our community, we would like to welcome Guy Chamberlain, CMS Associate Superintendent for Auxiliary Services, to the show. So glad you are here to clear up so many things for us.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to start off. There are many projects that are being proposed to for renovations and I guess to help sustain some of the older buildings we have to the tune of $300 million.
That is the list that we presented to the board last night. It was an 18-project, $300 million list of projects.
And what's on that list? What does it include?
There's a wide variety of projects, most significant of which are 6 new schools, 3 of which would replace existing schools, 3 of which are pre-K 8s. In addition, we have 7 substantial renovation and addition projects throughout the county. We have, I think, a significant project in upgrading 6 of our pre-K 8s that we opened almost 2 years ago. We will bring them up to a better standard. So those are the most significant of the projects.
So we have about 18 projects, replacements, renovations, and career tech. How badly are these things needed?
They're all badly needed. We have a 10-year capital need of just under $2 billion. So this $3 million list is just scratching the surface of that.
And how are these projects prioritized? What comes first, second, and third? Is there some type of list, some order we're going in?
We have a scorecard that we use to prioritize our projects. The most significant things we look at are the condition of the facility, and we have actually a facility condition index, and we rank all the schools based on their poor condition, and those in the worst condition will get attention first. In addition, we also take a look at overcrowding. Okay. And that requires relief, and so included in this program would be both relief and renovation and improvements and 3 replacement projects.
Could you give our audience an idea of what we're talking about, a true scenario that they could link to or understand a little bit better? Is there one particular project that comes to mind that's being proposed?
All right, 2 sides of the fence. From a relief standpoint, Albemarle Road Elementary has more classrooms outside of the building than inside the building. So our intent there is to provide a K-8 relief school that would provide relief not only for Albemarle Elementary, but for Albemarle Middle School. Okay. On the other side of the coin, we have Nations Ford, which has long overdone for relief and replacement. So we have 3 schools that will be replaced. J.M. Alexander Middle, Nations Ford, and Statesville Road Elementary.
Now, are we looking at projects that are all over the county, or they're in a particular place?
I would say they're uniformly distributed. We didn't necessarily intend for that to happen, but I think our needs are across the entire district. And so when we distill that down to the most important, I think we still get a fairly uniform distribution of new facilities and renovated facilities.
Okay, and we're throwing out the figure $300 million. This ties into a bond. Can we talk about that a little bit?
The county is proposed a bond referendum not to exceed $300 million. They have asked us to submit a project list not to exceed $300 million. The kicker is that this $300 million will be shared by both CMS and Central Piedmont Community College. So it's unlikely that we're going to see 300 of that, but I think we've got a strong program, and I think historically we should get a substantial portion of those bond proceeds.
And if I could just say something, because people say $300 million, that's a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, but when you're talking about capital facility needs, let me kind of share it in this way. So it's $300 million. We'll be sharing it with a community college if the voters were to vote on the bond positively. So let's say we get $200 million of that $300 million. If we did one new high school project, and many of our high schools in the southern part of our district are tremendously overcrowded, one new high school is at least an $80 million project. So one project could potentially take almost half of the availability of bonding that we're going to have the capacity to do. So we have over 160 schools. Every school has some level of need. So to try to begin to scratch the surface of what we need to do is going to be very difficult, but we're working with the county, and $300 million is what's being made available. We will be working with the community college. And what I also want to lift up is that we actually have some joint projects in our capital plan with the community college, some more middle colleges, and we're excited about that. We think that will create great opportunities for our students and be part of our commitment to workforce development.
Is that the Cato, or?
It's a replication of the Cato model, and so there are proposals for new campuses at Harper and Levine.
Well, let me ask you this while you're on that. The connection between the budget and the capital plan. They're connected in some way.
Absolutely.
Continue on that for us.
Yeah, it's we have 2 different budget sources: our operating budget, which is how we pay for our teachers, our instructional programs, and then we have a capital budget, which is how we build new buildings when we need them, renovate buildings, and so they serve different functions, but we have to make them work together in alignment. So, for example, to the point of Albemarle Road. We desperately need to provide relief for Albemarle Road Elementary and Middle School. So the creation of a new K-8 school does a couple of things. First of all, it provides the relief. The second thing that we're going to do is to have make it a partial magnet. So that will provide more opportunities for students who want that dual language program. Also, by making it a partial magnet, we're also listening to our community who always has issues and concerns around boundaries. And so by having it a partial magnet, we will have certainly some students that will be within the boundary of the new relief school, but also have the ability for students to choose to go to that new school. So we're really trying to look at it in many, many different ways to serve the needs of our schools, but also to provide those choice opportunities for students.
One other question for Mr. Chamberlain. We're talking about the 2007 bond. I think we saved some money there. We're getting ready to ask for more. You get people who say, CMS always asking for money. They need more money. How are we taking care of that money? Have we been spending it wisely or not?
I think we've been excellent stewards of the taxpayer dollar. Our square footage cost is one of the lowest in the state of North Carolina. Typically, North Carolina is one of the lowest cost construction areas in the United States. We have yet to deliver a school late. We're always on time. And in the aggregate, our budgets for each capital program have come in under budget, and which have allowed us to build additional facilities. An example of which, 7 years ago, we were able to almost completely replace the East Meck High School Stadium because of its condition. The stadium got condemned. We were able to take savings and build a new stadium.
McClintock Middle School.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Brand new facility instead of a partial renovation.
And what we mentioned earlier was in 2007, the price of things cost one thing. 2013, perhaps the price has gone up.
It's gone up probably 20% in that period of time.
Okay.
And fortunately, we have savings that have allowed us to be able to still complete the projects that we promised the voters back in 2007.
Okay. All right. We'll keep talking about it, and always more to come. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yes, sir.
All right, more insight still to come. It's time to recognize some of our outstanding teachers, one of whom will be named the CMS Teacher of the Year. Well, this is the part of the show where we take a look at some of the items that will be happening over the next few months so you can be informed and maybe take some action. We will start with teacher assistants. Truth or myth, staying or going?
To be determined.
Okay.
What we do know is how much we value in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools our teacher assistants. They're amazing. In the governor's proposed budget, there's a substantial cut across the state, $117 million of teacher assistants. It's $12.5 million in the CMS budget. If it were to come to fruition, that could potentially impact 400 of our teacher assistants, and so we're advocating for that cut not to happen or be reduced. But in the meantime, we're working with our teacher assistants and our principals about looking at options. We desperately need to keep our teacher assistants. They're amazing educators.
Okay. All right, we're going to talk now about the Teacher of the Year candidates that have been named. We'll list them. Lisa Craig, Bailey Middle School, Northeast Zone. Kevin Udi, Renaissance School at Olympic, Southwest Zone. Ashley Brooke Fulton, University Park Creative Arts Academy, Central Elementary Zone. James Ford, Garinger High, Central Secondary Zone. Bobby Mills, Ranson IB Middle, Project Lift Zone. And Doug Smith, McKee Road Elementary, East Zone. Of course, we'd like to say congratulations to all of those Teacher of the Year candidates.
They are amazing. They're great ambassadors to talk about how important our teachers are and the great job they do. Recently had a chance to be at McGee Elementary School on McGee Road and got a chance to meet Doug. Okay. And just the way he interacts with students and parents, they're just wonderful representatives of the quality of teachers in Charlotte-Mecklenburg School District.
Glad to have them. All right. We'll be right back with some closing thoughts right after the break. And welcome back. The National Academic League held its national championship recently. It's basically a quiz bowl featuring middle schools from all across the country. Well, this year, the final two schools were from the same school district, and we can pat ourselves on the back because it was Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. And we are very, very proud of them. They did a great job representing us very well.
Crestdale Middle School and Randolph Middle School. It's called an academic sports competition, and the students are called academic athletes. They compete by answering questions from 22 different subjects, and this year's winner was Randolph Middle School.
Okay. They did a great job.
They did a fantastic job.
And I know there was a lot of studying involved, a lot of late nights, parents, teachers, and students all working together to do their very best, of course, and to represent CMS. I have got to say this because I think this is a really good quote from you. Public education is not one size fits all. Instead, it's an opportunity to meet all students where they are and move them forward into the bright future. I'm going to give you a last word on that as it relates to all this money we've been talking about.
Okay. Well, you know, money is a resource, and resources all have to be used to the betterment of every child. So we take every child where they are, we get them to where they need to be, and where they need to be is walking across the stage, getting a diploma that's a passport for a better tomorrow. So the resource is only as valuable as it helps that goal be achieved.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you. And thank you so much for watching this episode of Inside. We hope you learned something that will help you become an informed parent, that is, an energized employee, or perhaps an engaged community member. Your support is very important to the success of CMS. We'll see you soon.